Telekom Malaysia Berhad, or TM, is the closest example of a company that practices the monopoly market structure in Malaysia. As the sole provider of the fixed line telephone network in Malaysia, TM has many clienteles or buyers, as every home or office with a fixed line phone would depend on their services. For TM, there are also significant technical barriers to entry given the vast investments required for economies of scale to occur in large output ranges. But is TM a model of efficiency? Hi, my name is Dr. Andrew Tan. I'm a professor of economics at the University Science Malaysia. As part of our discussion on market failure caused by imperfect competition, we will discuss the case of monopoly firms. We will discuss the characteristics of a monopoly market structure and how it makes its profit maximizing decisions. The competitive market structure is used as a basis for comparison. This leads to our discussion of welfare or deadweight loss that a monopoly firm creates and the resulting inefficient outcomes which causes market failure. In discussing market failure due to imperfect competition, we first focus on the monopoly market. The characteristics of the monopoly market are as follows. First, there is only one seller or supplier in the market, although there are many buyers. Since it is the sole firm that sells the output in the market, it is also the industry. Second, the product sold by the supplier has no substitutes in the market. Third, there are various barriers to enter the market. This includes technological barriers, ownership of special inputs, licenses, and franchises. Fourth, the market demand curve for the monopoly firm is downward sloping. This means that prices need to be lowered to sell additional units of output. Fifth, monopolies will restrict their output in charging higher prices. Last, monopolies impose a cost to society because fewer consumers can buy the product, and those who do so will have to pay higher prices for the goods. While examples of pure monopolies are rare due to antitrust laws that prohibit the formation of such a market, several suppliers come close to fulfilling the characteristics of a monopoly as previously listed. Aside from Telekom Malaysia, which monopolizes the fixed line telephone network in Malaysia, the Keretapi Tanah Melayu, or KTM, monopolizes the interstate railway travel industry in Malaysia. KTM is the only company that provides interstate travel to train passengers. Syabas, or the Syarikat Bekalan Air Selangor, is the only company that supplies water to the state of Selangor. I wonder if that is why the company has been in the wrong side of the news. There are no competing suppliers in the market, so consumers do not have other competitors to turn to. In the international front, Microsoft and Facebook are the closest to being examples of monopoly firms, although they are closely monitored by antitrust laws. Let us look at how monopoly firms operate in a graphical manner. But first, we know that in the long run, the demand or DD curve in a competitive industry is downward sloping. The DD curve also traces the price of the goods. Therefore, DD is equals to P, price. Meanwhile, the supply or SS curve in a competitive industry is upward sloping. The supply curve also represents the marginal cost, or MC, of the supplier. Equilibrium occurs at point Y, where DD is equals to SS, or price is equals to marginal cost. Competitive equilibrium output and price are QC and PC respectively. For a monopoly firm, its decisions are based on a marginal revenue function, or MRM. This function is downward sloping and is 2 times steeper than the demand curve, DD. Equilibrium occurs at point Z, where MRM is equals to MC. Monopoly equilibrium output and price are QM and PM respectively. By moving from the competitive market to the monopoly market, output declines from QC to QM, while prices increase from PC to PM. Specifically, the monopoly output QM is lower than the competitive output QC. Moreover, monopoly price PM is higher than the competitive price PC. Apart from the higher price and lower output, monopoly firms also cause social welfare losses or deadweight losses. The deadweight loss measures the loss in consumer surplus, which no party, either consumers, producers, or even the government, will be able to benefit from. To further understand how deadweight loss occurs, let us revise what we learned previously about consumer and producer surplus. Recall that consumer surplus is defined as the area under the demand function and above the price line. Meanwhile, producer surplus is denoted by the area above the supply function and below the price line. Next, we number the different areas that we will be discussing. We also classify the consumer and producer surplus under the different market structures. We then see the net effect of one market structure over the other. Under the competitive market, the consumer surplus is the area under the demand function, DD, and above the competitive price, PC. This is denoted by the areas 1 plus 2 plus 4. On the other hand, producer surplus is the area above the supply function, SS, and below the competitive price, PC. This is denoted by the areas 3 plus 5. Under the monopoly market, the consumer surplus is the area under the demand function and above the monopoly price, PM. This is denoted by area 1. For the monopoly market, producer surplus is the area above the supply function, SS, and below the monopoly price, PM. This is shown by the areas 2 plus 3. The net effect for consumer surplus is area minus 2 minus 4. This can be seen by area 1 cancelling each other out for the monopoly and competitive markets. 1 minus the sum of 1 plus 2 plus 4 is equals to minus 2 minus 4. This can be seen in the shaded areas, minus 2, minus 4 in the left diagram. Meanwhile, the net effect for producer surplus is area 2 minus 5. This is shown by area 3 cancelling each other out for the monopoly and competitive markets. 2 plus 3 minus the sum of 3 plus 5 is equals to 2 minus 5. This can be seen in the shaded areas 2 minus 5 in the diagram in the left. So, does society as a whole gain or lose? The total effect is shown by the areas minus 4 minus 5, as area 2 cancels out one another between consumer and producer surplus. Society's net loss are areas 4 and 5. Hence, market failure occurs in a monopoly market from the cost to society, or deadweight loss of area X, Y, Z due to having lower than optimal output levels and higher than optimal price levels. We have just reviewed the monopoly firm. We looked at the characteristics of a monopoly firm, how a monopoly firm operates, and the welfare or deadweight loss that a monopoly firm creates. These will all lead to inefficient outcomes in the monopoly market, which is a cause for market failure.